King Arthur, the mythical king of Arthurian legend. Have you ever wondered how powerful he is? And more importantly, did King Arthur came a lot? Well, let's talk about it. But first, I need to make a disclaimer. I once made a video talking about the powers of the wizard Merlin, and in that video, I covered the story of Merlin. Anyone who has watched that video will now expect me to do the same for Arthur, but I will not, because the full story of King Arthur is very long. It would be disingenuous to title this video, How Powerful is Arthur, and then spend 90% of the video talking about his backstory. I realize, of course, that I could title the video something different, but I am a stinky nerd who cares about power levels. Power levels is the thing I want to talk about, so if you click on this video expecting to learn the backstory of King Arthur, you're gonna be disappointed. Alright, let's talk power levels now. So, when Arthur was born, he was blessed with superhuman strength. Supposedly, he is the strongest warrior ever. He is so strong that with a swing of his sword, he can split people in half. In fact, Arthur is capable of killing hundreds of people by himself. And this number can actually get much higher depending on the source we use, because you see, Arthur's final battle is against Mordred and Mordred's army. All sources agree that Mordred's army was comprised of 60,000 men. Some sources say that in addition to the 60,000 men, other kingdoms allied with Mordred, and so the final number of his army was 100,000. But at bare minimum, all sources agree that Mordred's army was 60,000. However, for Arthur, things are not as consistent. Some sources claim that during his final battle, Arthur also had an army of 100,000 men, while in other sources, we read that his army was only 800 people. Considering that at the end of the battle, everyone except Arthur is dead, Arthur is dying, but he's not dead yet by the end of the fight, if we believe that Arthur's army was the lowest number reported, and we keep Mordred's army at 60,000 because that's consistent for him, then all of this would mean that Arthur is capable of killing thousands of people. He would literally be a one-man army. And while this may sound like wank, you'll realize it's not once you consider the fact that Arthur defeated Dinabuk. Who's that? I'm glad you asked. Dinabuk was a super strong giant. He was so strong that he could shake a mountain with his hits, and Arthur defeated him with zero difficulty. Yeah, Arthur is stronger than a creature that can shake a mountain with sheer strength. However, Arthur does not use all of this power all the time. He tends to hold back. When he gets serious, he one-shots almost everyone. Keyword almost. He's kinda like Saitama, but not really. Point is, he tends to hold back, and because of that, he has taken damage before. However, it's important to know that even when Arthur is holding back, he is still very much superhuman. One time, a suppressed Arthur was fighting a guy named Frollo. Frollo was said to be strong beyond the strength of man, whatever that means. And after Frollo hits Arthur with his sword on the head, all that happens is that Arthur bleeds a little. So even where Arthur is keeping his power level low, he is not a regular guy. Remember, the giant Dinabuk hits so hard he shakes a mountain, and Arthur casually blocked that attack. When Arthur is serious, his durability goes way beyond that of a normal person. Now, moving on to his speed, there is definitely something here, but it is not much, and the little we have is pretty vague. Arthur exists in a universe where people can fight in a flash or move like lightning, and he is still superior to everyone, so you could definitely argue he has superhuman speed, but exactly how fast he would be, I don't know, let's say as fast as lightning or something like that? Now, with his stats covered, we can get to the real meat of the video, his equipment. So, let's talk about Excalibur now. Excalibur was created in Avalon, a mythical island inhabited by 9 magical elven women who presumably can live forever. The sword was made with magic, and any man Arthur cuts with this sword instantly dies. Excalibur is by no means a normal blade, but it has its limitations, because when Arthur fights Frollo, a guy who, as I mentioned earlier in the video, is said to be beyond the strength of man, Frollo blocks and withstands hits from Excalibur. It is only until Arthur gets serious that Frollo gets one-shotted. From this, we can presume that while Excalibur is not a normal blade, it is the combination of Excalibur plus Arthur's strength that makes both of them so deadly. Alright, with Excalibur covered we are done, right? Not quite. Arthur has a secret sword that you probably have never heard about. It's called Clarent. Arthur only uses this sword during ceremonies when he gives someone the title of knight. Arthur got the sword from his dad, although where did his dad got the sword from, I have no idea. But in Arthur's own words, Clarent was his greatest pride. Arthur was very secretive about this sword. Only him and his wife knew about it, but Arthur's wife had problems keeping both her mouth and her legs closed, so eventually Mordred learns about the sword too. He then steals it, and it is with this sword that during the final battle, Mordred mortally wounds Arthur. Now, here's the thing. Mordred need not necessarily be superhuman. In many sources, he is portrayed as a regular guy, and just by having Clarent, Mordred can fight evenly against a fully equipped King Arthur that is not holding back. This would mean that the sword Clarent massively amps your stats, and under this approach, Clarent would be superior to Excalibur in every conceivable way. That's it, I have nothing else to add, so thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.